Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to tell you a little bit something on this Friday, stormy Friday. Tell you a little bit about cybersecurity and the events that are taking place in that area, and hope to give you some advice at home to think about it during the weekend. But I just wanted to take you on a quick tour through history. If you look at cyberspace, because people trying to hack and break into systems, it's been around all the time. You see some pictures on the screen. Already quite a long time ago, people started to protect themselves, and other people always try to break into those systems. And one of the famous examples, I guess, is the Enigma machine, as you see it here on screen. A machine that was actually built to encrypt messages during the Second World War, and was thought to be unbreakable. But of course, like so many other techniques around the time, they were actually cracked, and people started to read those messages. And it's been like that actually all history. If you go back already to the beginning of our time, you see things like this happening. And actually, in a lot of cases, it happened because people made errors, and it wasn't for the systems. And you see it on screen here. This is actually the book that was given with the Enigma machine, the book that actually the operating manual. And the operating manual already described a couple of what we would call in cybersecurity space vulnerabilities to the system and to the machine, things that the user needed to take care of to make sure it was kept secret. And of course, it didn't happen like that, because users are users. And I think that's the most important tip I will give you today, is that you're always there and you're always part of that system, and you have a role to play there. But what's currently happening, and I give you a quick and hopefully really easy picture to show you how an attack would unfold. And typically, this is what an attacker would see. You see the circle in blue, and the attacker doesn't know so much at that point. He only knows he wants to break into a system, and possibly there is information that he could use. And step by step, he would gain more access, get initial access to an organization or to your office building, for instance. And step by step, he would increase that. And every step, you have a possibility to actually detect that attacker in your system or in your building. And with every step, he gets closer. So that's basically what this picture is depicting. And there's also, of course, and there are a lot of steps. You see them on the left side. I only used the main four in my view. There's always a step of people that are actually getting the information out. And in this really simple example that I showed you, you could follow it step by step. But typically it shows like this, right? So it is quite difficult to detect an attack. But as I said, everybody has a role to play, and remain vigilant at all times to maybe detect that little phishing email, detect that person that is snooping around your organization, and do something with it. That's, I think, the main objective there. So what are the three main things that we see around? Actually, this is the most important one, and you will see it also in your own personal life. Phishing or spear phishing is still the main focus point for an attacker, trying to lure you into clicking on an email link, maybe getting you to a website where they try to get information that they can use later on. There's also some more advanced techniques. One of them I would call drive-by compromise. It looks a little bit something like it, and for everybody that is using social media, I advise you to think about what could happen here. And I actually have an example from the last time when I was about to present this to you. So it's a little bit of time ago, but maybe you might remember that there were some issues with components of airplanes dropping from the skies. It actually happened in the Netherlands, and I think it was a day later, it also happened in the US. And to show you how easy that can be, you see a message here, and you have to look at the message below. This is actually a post that was done by the Register on Twitter. And they said, you know, plane spotters weekends turn traumatic as engine pieces fall from the sky. This is a legitimate message. The message above is my personal message that I wrote on Twitter with the link. And you can actually see that little green thing there. You also see something with McAfee showing that this is all legit. But what would happen if you would click it, you would come to this page. Doesn't do so much, but just to show you that I could easily lure you into clicking a link whenever you're interested in a certain topic. And we actually did some field work with this and saw that people are really easy when they are on social media. They're really easy clicking links like this, which is, you know, actually you can't see where you're going, but people typically tend to click on it. And my last example that I wanted to show you today, an important one to stay vigilant on, is the one that actually happened a while ago. This was quite a big security issue around Christmas time. It was when it started, and it's what we call supply chain compromise. It's actually a break-in at a location of one of your suppliers. It can be a supplier of software. This is actually what happened during Christmas time, but it could also be hardware. Think about routers or switches that you're using in your company networks, for instance. What do you know about them? Have you actually tested them for security breaches? Or are you bringing them into your organization without testing them? This is basically what happened in this case. Hackers gained access to a software product and were able to use that to actually get into the center of organizations that were using that software. Think about my circles that I showed earlier. So I was asked to keep it really short, to also give you some time to question me on a lot of topics if you want to. But I think the main things that I wanted to give you is that everybody has a role to play. Information security is not something from the IT department. Everybody has its role to play. Think about those phishing emails. I always call it the human sensor is as important as its technical equivalent, right? So you're important as an employee of an organization to help detect malicious activities. And I would close off with the last one, which is, I think, very important, is communication about incidents, both internally and externally. It's really important to be able to learn from them. You see that developing as more and more organizations are joining forces to actually communicate about the incidents that they had, and to be able to learn from them together. So that actually was my last slide. It was really crisp and short presentation on information security. There's a lot of things to say about it, but I wanted to give also the floor to you to maybe ask your questions to me.